Hello and welcome to Choop Eats Soup. Today we're eating miso soup. Thank you, waiter. So miso soup is a Japanese delicacy. I don't think I've ever had a Japanese soup in the past, so this will be a new experience. In this soup, we've got a bunch of tofu cubes, and we've got big chunks of seaweed. If you let it sit for a while, it sort of turns into like this soup galaxy. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna take the first bite. Honestly, this soup tastes like no other. I've never had a soup that tastes like this. There's not much to compare it to. Normally I have like a witty comparison, like, oh, this soup tastes like Chuck E. Cheese! But there's not much I can really say. It's an amazing flavor, but I think it's pretty unique to miso soup. The seaweed adds a nice texture to something that would probably be pretty bland. It could taste a little bit like coffee. Well, apparently, on the back of the box, you can turn this into a dip of some sorts. We didn't turn it into a dip, but they recommend using a chip with the dip. So I'm going to dip the chip into the soup, but it isn't a dip, but I'm going to dip it in anyway. The chip really adds a salty flavor to it. These are very salty chips. I think I need to have one more to actually process the flavor. It doesn't add much to the chip, honestly. The taste of the chip really overpowers the miso, and I wouldn't recommend the chips. The back of the box may recommend it, but I wouldn't. They recommend unsalted rice snaps. That's why the salt really overpowers it. Maybe next time I'll try that. As I leave the soup out, the flavor of the seaweed overtakes it more and more every second. And that's not a bad thing. Seaweed has a nice flavor to it. If you've ever had seaweed, you either love it or you hate it. And if you hate it, you probably wouldn't like miso soup. Maybe without the seaweed, though. Something I'd like to add is this soup is very drinkable. You could almost put it in like a mug and just drink it like that. Something I'd like to add is, this is the first soup we've ever made with boiled water from a powder. I don't recall another episode where we had a powdered soup, an instant soup, and added boiled water. I'm sure there's ways to make it without that, but this is the miso soup we found. I'm gonna be honest, I really enjoyed this soup. I've heard a lot of good things about this soup, and I can say it lives up to it. I'd have to give this soup a 10 out of 10. I eat it all the time, and you should too.